everybody, welcome to the channel. My name is Sam and this is V-Belt & Son. Today's video I'm going to go over my 2004 Dodge 3500 with a 5.9 Cummins in it. Now everybody likes to say that the Cummins engine outlasts pretty much everything, and now I can kind of hold that. It's pretty good regards, but people say that these Dodge pickups are just junk and they'll just fall apart on you. Now this truck right here has 327,000 miles on it. I am the second owner of this truck and I know pretty much every detail of anything that has happened to this truck and what has been replaced and what has failed on it. Now I also want to go in and show you guys how much blow-by this truck has after 300,000 plus miles. But I'm going to go over every little detail that I can on the outside of stuff that I've added to it. When I bought this truck, it used to be like the colorway was all chrome, where everything is now black on it. No chrome bumper, chrome wheels. It had white fender flares. Kind of did away with it. It honestly had a really good clean look to it, but the previous owner got sideswiped right here and it's got a little scuff, and it also dented the lower panel down there, but it turned this fender flare into a 3/4 fender flare, so I replaced them in the sake of saving some money. I just put the unpainted black ones on there, and I like the look a lot. Found these MB wheels, slapped those on there. This setup does not look very good with 35s on there. Those are 285 tires, and I really like the look of those compared to 35s. So that changed quite a bit. And these bumpers, I got a score of a deal on these. A fella down in San Francisco just bought the exact same truck as this, and it had these bumpers on it. And I don't know, he didn't really know how much these bumpers are worth, but these are Rennell bumpers, front and rear. These are pretty much the stoutest bumpers I've ever really seen. I've had several other brands. My 96 12 valve had a Rennell on it also, and that is, you know, I was a little biased and wanted another Rennell, but these things just weigh so much. But I got these off of Craigslist. A guy traded my bumpers, or I traded him my bumpers and 800 bucks for a front and rear on these things, and they are just absolutely savage. The back one all done up. This back one actually probably weighs as much as the front one. I got insert backup lights, backup cameras down there underneath my license plate. Front bumper. I've had, you know, one deer made a mistake and jumped out in front of this bad cherry one day. So it has a winch compartment in the bumper, and I have just a 12,000 pound Harbor Freight winch in there. I've only had to use it a couple of times, but it'll pull this truck sideways, so that's absolutely plenty for what I need. The truck weighs maybe 8 at best. Just a simple, you know, you can get light bars anywhere. I buy a lot of stuff off of eBay, so nice little, I don't know, it's like a 20-inch light bar. Added the side steps. I have like a 55-gallon transfer tank in the back, and this is my puppy dog, Boone. He's an Australian Shepherd. He's purebred, and he's just a puppy. He's still growing, so don't think he's a mini. He came from an actual cattle ranch out in Laramie, Wyoming, where I went to school at. But over everything that has actually failed with the truck internally, not just the Cummins related stuff, but stuff inside the cab here, stuff that stopped working, didn't work right, started sticking or whatever. This is actually a work truck, and just one trip out in the woods, this dust is just permanent. But the one major thing that actually failed on it was the vent door. It only blows out these vents now. It's just a simple pain in the butt type of a fix. So I rearranged it so I have a mechanical lever that actually turns the valve, or turns the vent door inside the dash. You can hear it turning in there. That was probably the biggest thing that actually failed inside the cab. All my dome lights, everything works just like brand new. Steering is still pretty good. All my switches and everything are working absolutely fine. There's been very little of anything that has actually failed with the truck itself. A couple other little things, I mean, after the amount of use that this truck has, you know, partaken in, right here, this is also another problematic area. This you know, it squishes at a weird angle, and it'll actually wear your wires in two. Your speaker will stop working. At first, that's what mine did. The speaker went out, and then we were out in the middle of the desert camping, and my back window stayed halfway down. So I tore all that apart, troubleshooted. There was like 6 wires that actually came apart in there, and yeah, I figured it out, rolled the window up, went on home and fixed it. But another thing, look at the seat. Look at that thing actually held up. This is like one of the few that I've seen that are over like 100,000 miles that the seat is still holding up. This actually wasn't ripped when I bought the truck. It just, I don't know, my belt, like the belt rings on my pants wear on that, so it kind of gets torn up. And again, work truck, and I have a puppy dog that he pretty much packs around a lot of dirt. All of it that has failed inside the cab. We'll go ahead and pop the hood, and I'll give some details of what has failed underneath the hood. Now, one of the biggest major problems that I've had with this was I was on a trip up in Oregon, get up there, and the truck was leaking diesel. I was looking all over for it. They, let's see if I can zoom in on it here for you. Fuel line is right there. Then there's a little valley right there. There's a little cup. There was a puddle of diesel right there. And there's a series of bolts. I think there's 6 of them that hold your CP3 together. And several of those had worked their way out of the CP3, and some of them had popped the bolt head completely off of it. So it was leaking diesel pretty good. I put that bolt in that had fallen out, back in there, torqued it down, drove home for like a day, and it started leaking again. So I pulled the CP3 off, put all new bolts in there. They were all Allen head rather than Torx. Tightened the crap out of those. Guess I didn't get them tight enough and didn't have enough Loctite on them. Had to do it again like 2 years later. Now there's more Loctite than there is bolt, and they should never come back out of there. So that was one of the major things that I had fail on it. And you know, I had pretty good talk with the previous owner on everything that has also failed on the truck, and simple stuff like, you know, alternator. I put an alternator on here, he put an alternator, water pump, power steering pump, you know, belts and stuff like that. It is on its original turbo. The radiator recently failed on me. It cracked the plastic, which is, that kind of makes sense because it's just a crappy plastic radiator. Nothing too much can be expected after, you know, however old this truck is. It's getting up there, but it starts perfect every day, and I love this truck. Good old 5.9 common rail that's doing its job. He did, it is on its 2nd set of injectors. I don't know if the first set actually failed or you just swapped them out, just preventative maintenance. But that was about 50,000 miles before I bought it, so it's been about 85,000 miles ago that had injectors, and it fires up absolutely perfect every time. So no issues with that. Things that I've added to this truck, he did a clutch not that long before I bought it, but I slipped a couple clutches on my 12 valve, and I didn't really care to go through that again, especially since I was adding a little bit of power. And so I added a little bit of power, so I put a South Bend dual disc on this. Might be overkill, but a dual disc isn't bad. It kind of makes life hard, you know, when you're trying to shift. But other than that, a dual disc is pretty maintainable for a daily driver. It gets old. Other things that I've added to it, so I did South Bend dual disc. It is running a Smarty Senior on it right now, and S&B cold air intake with MBRP 5-inch exhaust on it. I do not even have the silencer ring pulled out of this truck. This is just it's a grandpa truck that doesn't look like a grandpa truck, to be honest with you. It has a PRXB pack brake, exhaust brake installed on it. With those perks, you also have, you know, your onboard air. I've showed that before. And I have airbags in the rear with the amp air ride switch inside the cab, so I can just hit the switch and the thing will lift itself up, which is pretty slick. My gauges, this thing does not really get hot ever on any scale. I just have glow shift gauges on it. This one's my fuel pressure. This gauge actually is acting up, but my boost gauge is fine. Pyrometer is good. No issues with those except for that stupid one. But as long as it's showing me that it's got fuel pressure, we are good. Also, I have a Fast 150 tucked away underneath there, nice and dirty because it's a freaking work truck. If you want to run tunes on your stock 5.9 truck, for one, your clutch probably not going to hang. Second thing is, you got to watch your fuel pressure, because I didn't really think too much of it. I wasn't really juicing, my tunes weren't that hot. So alls I had was like a 60 horse tune on there, coming through the canyon, set up the fuel pressure gauge on there. Your stock pump to the CP3 is like 8 psi, not that much. And when you put your foot in it, it takes that 8 psi to no psi. So I put that Fast 150 on there and it stays cool. It idles at 17 psi and wide open throttle is like 15. So it's hanging pretty good. You get a lot of benefits when you're running a Fast 150 also, because you do not have a crappy filtration system like your stock rig does. Fast does offer great filtration, air and water separators on there, and it definitely on my dad's 24 valve, when he switched to a Fast, you can tell a difference on how well that rig worked, or how well it sounded. It sounded a lot cleaner. So I mean, but everything else on this truck that has actually gone out, you know, front and rear main have both failed, but after 300,000 miles, you kind of, you know, those are going to go at some point. It is the transmission. I did swap that out, mistakenly thinking that my old one was worn out, but it's just South Bend dual disc, makes it a little bit tough to shift. So I spent like $3 grand for nothing. Oh well, live and learn. All right, so I'm switching over to my GoPro, and we're going to see how much blow by a truck with 300,000+ miles on it actually has. Let's find a nice home for you guys to get set up on. Alright, so there we go. I would say blow by is 0 to none, maybe a touch, but for 300,000 miles, this thing is running like an absolute top. Very happy with this truck. I've considered and debated and actually bought a truck to replace this one before. I bought an 06, pretty much exactly like this, but red and Laramie'd out. And I ended up selling that and keeping this, because this truck, for one, I got a lot invested in it, and this one I got, you know, there's a lot of sentimental value. Something about, you know, it's not my first one of these trucks. I've owned a crap load of these, but this one was one of my earlier on rebel trucks to get her done. So if you guys are wondering what camera gear I'm running, I'll go ahead and show it to you. There was a question on it. I am talking on a GoPro Hero 7 Black right now. It is pretty much a bad Larry. Earlier on in the video, I was talking with this, a Canon PowerShot G7X Mark II. That thing is pretty freaking sweet. That is your standard style YouTube camera, because you get to flip it over and you can turn it to see yourself talk. For my drone shots, I have my Karma drone with a Hero 6 up in there. Hero 6 is a pretty good camera for the drone, because Hero 6, the sound quality is pretty iffy. But on the 7, I really like how the 7 sounds. And normally my older videos, and I still use it from time to time, I use a GoPro Hero 3. And it does the job pretty dang good. So that is my camera gear right there, guys. I'm trying to make it so my videos are A for effort, I would say, at this moment. And yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and end this video here, but that is in a lump sum everything that has failed on my 5.9. It is pretty much a beast. It has gotten me a lot of places, and something that I can trust, kind of trust like my boy here. Yeah, Yeah, oh yeah, he just wants a bed and go to sleep. So, thanks for watching, guys. We're gonna end this video. Hit them buttons, like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're trying to get in the fast cooler giveaway on the road to 5,000 subs, let's go ahead and get it. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time. Bye.